Hey everyone, welcome to Mother's Day at Journey Church. I'm really excited to be able to bring the word to you today, and I hope that even if you're not a mom, that you'll stay tuned in with me because I promise you there's something in here for you as well. I want to talk to you for just a few minutes about the idea she found Jesus on the floor. She found Jesus on the floor. You see, the other day, Vera was wandering around the house being the busy, full of mischief little 2-year-old that she is, and I hear her in the spare room running out yelling, "I found him! I found baby Jesus! I found baby Jesus!" And she was so excited. She had found baby Jesus, and this made her day. Then a couple of days later, we're getting into the car to run an errand, and there again, Vera finds baby Jesus in her seat, and she is so excited. She's yelling, "Mom, I found baby Jesus! I found baby Jesus!" She's again elated that she has found baby Jesus. Again, a couple of days later, this baby Jesus is getting around, you guys. He's on the living room floor, and she's excitedly showing a grandparent, "I found baby Jesus." Why did she find baby Jesus in all of those places? Possibly because I don't pick up the floor often enough, but mostly because that's where I left him. I left baby Jesus on the floor, and Vera found him. I bought baby Jesus. I bought the nativity set. I'm the one who pulled it out of the box for the kids to play with. I'm the one who set it up on the floor. I'm the one who left it on the floor after they were all done playing with it. Why? Again, why? My incredible friend Lauren Johnson teaches these lessons called Jesus on the Floor, and it's about making Jesus tangible to small children, that Jesus should not be some pristine, unbreakable little nativity set up on a shelf, something you don't want them to break, okay? He should be up close, personal, friendly, idea that they can wrap their little tiny hands around. She talks about making Jesus being able, something they can touch and something they can reach out to. She talks about bringing holidays, every holiday throughout the year, back around centering on Jesus. Enjoy all the other fun stuff with holidays, but make sure it comes back around to Jesus. And so this idea of Jesus on the floor has really started to get down deep into my heart. And I understand now that Jesus needs to be something that my children can wrap their hearts around no matter how young that they are, and that Jesus shouldn't be something that I set up on a shelf and say, "Yes, that's nice, look at Jesus, but don't touch him," okay? That has gotten into my heart. That much of it has gotten down deep in my heart, that he should be relatable, right? That's the way it should be. But what's been hitting me in the last few weeks is that if that's going to happen for my children, it's going to be my doing. It's going to be my responsibility. If they're going to find Jesus on the floor, I've got to be the one who puts him there. Jesus isn't going to magically jump out of the nativity box and put himself on the floor. It has to be a conscious effort that I make to put Jesus into their everyday lives. And maybe those two thoughts should have come hand in hand, but it's amazing how much it takes the effort for us to put Jesus on the floor, for us to put Jesus in a place where our children can reach him, where our children can understand him, where our children don't just see Jesus on Sunday when they go to Journey Kids, when they don't just see Jesus at Easter and at Christmas, but where they see Jesus every single day of their lives because he's right there with them on the floor, okay? If I'm not leaving Jesus on the floor, then it's not going to happen for them. I have to be sprinkling Jesus throughout their day. I have to be sprinkling Jesus through their breakfast time at the breakfast table. I need to talk about Jesus. I need to mention that Bible story we read last night and bring it up again and make it fresh in their memories. When we're driving down the road, I need to be talking about the things I'm grateful for to the Lord. They need to hear me as we drive, talk about the good things of God. When we're in the store, as we shop, happens, something reminds me of Jesus, I need to bring it up. Whenever they're having playtime and playing restaurant, or whenever they're ready to read a storybook, I can bring all of those things back around to Jesus. I can mention Jesus. It's okay to live our lives. It's okay to go on about our day, but it's also okay, and it's also a beautiful thing to bring Jesus into our everyday lives. Not just put him on a shelf, not just let the family Bible sit on the coffee table, but make sure that we bring Jesus to life for them every day, okay? Maybe you have older kids, teenagers living at home, and you're thinking, okay, well, my kids don't want to sit on the floor and play with a nativity set, so how do I bring Jesus to the floor for them? Mom, when you're riding your kids to school in your car, you can talk about Jesus with them. You can talk about how God protected them when that bad thing happened at their school last week. You can talk about how they can show kindness to a kid in their class who's maybe struggling or going through something. You can bring God up when you're hanging out at the pool and going for a swim, and talk about Jesus walking on the water and make it funny and make it light. And you can bring Jesus to the floor for your teenagers. At meal times, when you gather around the table, if you're not doing that, do it. Even if your teens roll their eyes, talk about Jesus around the table, okay? Make him something that's a part of your everyday life. Have game nights. Help out with homework. Talk about Jesus. Bring Jesus to the floor for your older kids. And now, thank you to those who have hung out with us who are maybe not parents yet, or maybe your kids are grown and gone and no longer at home. How do you bring Jesus to the floor? You don't have kids living in your house. Is this concept relevant for you? Let me tell you, you need to bring Jesus to the floor. You need to put Jesus on the floor. You need to sprinkle Jesus everywhere when you're having coffee with a friend, when you're hanging out in the break room with your coworker, when you're chatting about the weekend plans with your neighbor in the front yard, when you're texting that friend who had a hard week and you know they did, when you're talking to the cashier at the supermarket or Target, or the barista who's making your coffee, whenever you're going about your day-to-day life, whoever you're coming in contact with, you can bring Jesus down to the floor in the lives of those you come in contact with. You can make Jesus tangible and real and reachable and relatable to those people. They can find Jesus on the floor of their life because of you. We need to sprinkle a little Jesus everywhere we go. Sprinkle him like glitter throughout your day. For some of you, you're like, I don't think so. How else will they find Jesus on the floor if we're not the ones who are leaving him there? For my daughter, I had to buy the baby Jesus. I had to pull him out of the box. I had to set up the nativity. And then she began finding baby Jesus everywhere she looked. And if we do that for the people in our lives, for our extended family members, even for our spouses, if we leave Jesus on the floor, if we're not shoving Jesus at their face, we're leaving him on the floor. We're saying, hey, there's a little Jesus right there. Hey, there's a little Jesus right there. I'm going to leave a little Jesus by your coffee cup. I'm going to leave a little Jesus on your bathroom mirror. I'm going to sprinkle Jesus everywhere, and I'm going to pray that you find him. I'm going to take a moment and read Deuteronomy Chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. And I'm reading from the New Living Translation if you'd like to follow along. It says this: Listen, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, and you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart and all of your soul and all of your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commandments I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children or your neighbors or your coworkers or your friends or your cashiers and your baristas. Repeat them again and again. Talk about them when you're at home, and talk about them when you're on the road and when you're going to bed and when you are getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorpost of your home and on your gates. Make Jesus more than just a part of your life. Make Jesus more than 2 hours on Sunday. Make Jesus more than 30 minutes or an hour of small group on midweek. Make Jesus more than Easter and Christmas. Make Jesus everything. Make him the center. Make him the focal point of your life and leave him on the floor for others to find. Let that foundation be built for your children, especially the children you have at home. Let that foundation be built that will last them for their whole lives through. Make that impact on those around you. If it's not your small children at home, impact that you will only see the fruit of in eternity, but you can change someone's eternity just by leaving Jesus on the floor. Leave Jesus and let them find Jesus on their bathroom mirrors and in their text messages, in the dining room table and in the play corner. Let them find Jesus on the floor of their lives. To those who are not parents or whose children are grown and gone, think of this. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 20 says, "So we are ambassadors. God is making his appeal through us. We speak for Christ when we plead, come back to God." That passage is talking about us having a job, having a mission of reconciling the world to Christ, okay? It's not an optional part of our walk with God. It's a vital, central component of our walk with God. It's to reach people. It's to leave Jesus on the floor everywhere that we go. We are called to do it. We give them the chance to find Jesus. When I was 18, I was a waitress. I worked at Cracker Barrel for a couple of years, and I used to write scriptures on our little notepads that we had, and I would leave that scripture on the break room table, and I would do it almost every shift that I had, not for any super spiritual purpose. In part, it encouraged me when I walked back into that break room and I saw that scripture sitting there, and in part because my hope was that I would sprinkle a little Jesus in that place and someone might find him lying on the floor. And some people mocked me for my faith there. Some people made fun of me. Some people ridiculed me for it. And others would take those scriptures home and say, thank you so much for doing that, because it was the only Jesus they were getting in their life. I openly shared my faith with those that liked me and those that hated me. I left Jesus on the floor for them to find, whether they were excited about the idea or they pushed me away because of the idea. And as small as it might seem, there were two people from that job when I was just a teenage kid that came to my church. That one was weeping in the altar at prayer time. One got baptized. This happened at 2 different times. And I hope and believe that in part that happened because I left Jesus on the floor of their everyday life. I loved them out loud. I was kind to them when they were mean to me. I was friendly with them when they were friendly with me. And I shared my faith any opportunity that I got. And I left scriptures for them to read and be encouraged with. I left Jesus on the floor of the place that I worked. And I believe that it had impact. I believe that it had impact. Was it anything special that I did? No. I simply left Jesus on the floor consistently, making him readily available, tangible, able to be reached and touched for those around me. We need to sprinkle a little Jesus everywhere that we go. We need to love God and we need to love people. We need to talk about him through our day, and we need to remember that if they are going to find Jesus, anyone in our lives, our children, our spouse, our friends, our neighbors, our co-workers, the people we come in contact with day to day, if they're going to find Jesus, it's going to be because we left him on the floor. So I ask you, how are you doing that right now? Are you allowing Jesus to become a part of your everyday life? Are you allowing him to be in your home day in and day out? Or are you relegating Jesus to a shelf? Are you relegating Jesus to Sunday only? That's the only time we talk about Jesus here. That's the only time we bring him up. What if I say something wrong about Jesus and I mess people up? Are you talking about him? Are you learning about him for yourself so that you may talk about him, so that you can leave Jesus on the floor of their lives? Are you loving people out loud? Is your life becoming a place to leave Jesus on the floor, or is that only for when you're at church? We need to make sure that we do the things that Jesus asked us to do. Love God with all that we are. Love people as ourselves. And if we are doing those two things, we will be sprinkling Jesus everywhere we go. We will leave Jesus on the floor everywhere that we go so that someone will find Jesus on the floor. This is a very simple thought today, but I hope that it encouraged you. I hope that it inspired you in some small way to sit down at a dinner table today and talk about Jesus, to play games with your family this week and talk about Jesus. Ask them questions about Jesus. Encourage them to ask you questions about Jesus. And if you don't know the answer, say, I don't know, but we'll find out together. I encourage you whenever you grab a coffee this week, or if you're working in this season right now, talk to those around you about Jesus. You don't have to shove Jesus in their face to say, God has blessed me so much this week and I am encouraged. God has been my strength and my peace through this season and I am encouraged. When they have a bad day, for you to say, is it okay if I pray for you? Would that be all right? Would it be okay if I put you on my little prayer list at home and mention your name to the Lord when I pray this week? I encourage you, sprinkle Jesus everywhere you go. Leave Jesus on the floor, whether your children are very small and just learning about who he is. If your kids are bigger and teenagers and they maybe need a little more space, you can still leave Jesus on the floor of their lives. You can still talk about him with them. You can learn about him together with them. If your kids are grown and gone, then seek people out to share Jesus with, to sprinkle Jesus on the floor of their lives. Don't let a day pass you by when you are not sprinkling Jesus on the floor for someone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you have a wonderful Mother's Day. Our hearts and our prayers are with you. We cover you on a regular basis with everything that we are. We miss you deeply, and we cannot wait to love on you in person. God bless you, and we will see you all very soon.